Today on episode 41 of the Play Guitar Podcast, how do you keep moving forward on the guitar when you're strapped for time? I'll show you how you can turn 10 minutes of your day into a super effective practice routine. So stay tuned. Hey, welcome. I'm Lee Anderson, and I'm so glad you're watching today. Hours and hours. Is that what it takes to get good? Just practice, practice, practice? For musicians, it's been this way forever. That's just what you do. You play all the time. Sounds great, doesn't it? Just to be able to focus on one thing and then magically all the rest of life's problems and tasks, they all work themselves out. Sounds pretty good to me, but that's not been my experience at all. Even if you're a full-time musician these days, your time is usually filled up with all of the other things that surround playing music. It's become a big challenge just to get to the thing that makes it all possible, which is your instrument. Yes, having several hours to practice every day, that would be great, but for a lot of people, it's not realistic. So we have to really think about this. We have to get smarter to deal with the situation. How can we get the benefits of practice without all of the hours? Repetition, that's the key. The main part of committing these patterns and these skills and sounds that we're learning, getting those to your long-term memory, that's repetition. And when you practice for a long time, for long hours, you're going to have a lot of repetition. But also with that, there's going to be a lot of other things that are using up the majority of that time that may not be as beneficial. So focusing on the repetition of the key skills, and doing that from day to day in a shorter practice routine, that'll give us a ton of the same results, even if it's for smaller periods of time. And that's awesome news for guitar players, for modern guitar players who find it harder and harder to spend time with their instrument. So we're going to talk about creating a good, shorter practice schedule. But how can I do this? How can I give everyone who watches this a custom practice routine? That's impossible. I can't do it. But what I can do is I can give you the process that I use to help students start their own effective routine. And we'll talk about how you can go about this at home, and I'll go over some tips for you so you can fill out and guide your routine in the smartest way possible in about, let's say, 10 minutes a day. Let's talk about the Pareto principle. This is something I've been really trying to implement in a lot of areas in my life. And I found it works great for a whole lot of things, including learning the guitar, especially learning the guitar. Something like the guitar where there's so much noise, and that means so much to learn and so many different opinions on how to do it, so many different avenues you can take, so many different players to learn from. You can really get a lot out of the Pareto principle for this. Another name for this principle, you may have heard of it, it's called the 80-20 rule. And I first heard about it in a really cool book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And I'm not going to get really deep into this, but you can just think of it this way. It boils down to you do 20% of the work or the activities that you're doing, and those are responsible for 80% of the results. Think about this for a minute. If you could find that in your own life, have you ever worked really hard at something and you got barely any results? Nothing came of it. And then someone gives you a small but some really valuable tips or information, and all of a sudden it became really easy. Your job got instantly easier, and whatever it was you needed to accomplish just got done quick. It's almost like before you were working around the problem. You were doing the 80%. But when you focused on the right stuff, that 20% made everything easier and more productive. I find this in a lot of things, and the trick is to find that 20%. Finding the 20%, that's really time that's well spent. If you take the time to figure out what it is that's going to get you the farthest, the fastest, and then you can just ignore the rest. So let's set a limitation. I find when I'm starting something new, like exercise, for example, it's best to start out small. And thinking like that's great for this problem, for guitar players, let's set a limit on our practice. And let's start off with the smallest time that would give you pretty good results. So let's try 10 minutes a day. Do you got 10 minutes? Do you have 10 minutes during the day that you could spend with the guitar? I know you're busy. I'm busy too, but I'm sure there's something you could reschedule or you could get rid of to clear 10 minutes of your day. So the 10 minutes a day I found is usually when I ask people to do that, they say, okay, yeah, I could find 10 minutes a day. But here's the next part. This is the next big thing. This is what's really going to move us forward. And this is where you have to do a pretty big commitment. We're going to try and do this every day, 7 days a week. That's what I'm talking about. So usually when I bring that part up, I don't get that happy response. Usually people start saying, well, I got to play golf on Wednesdays, or on Sundays I'm busy all day, all those kind of things. This is only 10 minutes. 10 minutes, you can do this. And a daily commitment of 10 minutes, it's doable. You can make that happen. So let's talk about the areas essential to getting forward on the guitar. Let's tackle this question. I don't know what to practice. I just want to sound like whoever it is that you want to sound like, and I just want to be able to play this song, but I don't know what the steps are to get me there. Learning the guitar and being able to play songs, it's like building a house. Once you've got that foundation, everything builds upon that, and it becomes easier and easier to learn new things because you have that core knowledge and the core skills. So many people have tried to learn some really advanced songs before, way before they were ready. So using this principle, the Pareto's principle, we need to know what these foundational skills are first. That 20%, we need to spend intense focus and repetition on those primary skills of a guitar player. So first, what are some common elements of a good practice schedule? I'm going to give all of them. This is the list of the common elements, and here we go. So we got warm up, technique exercises, working on rhythms and strumming, chords, scales, arpeggios, improvisation, your repertoire, which means your catalog of songs that you play, sight reading, and songwriting. There it is. That's the main focus of a good, well-rounded practice. Now, depending on what stage of guitar you're at, you don't have to hit all of those. You may or may not be hitting all of this, but at least using this list as a guide, we're going to take a hard look at our playing and what we're trying to accomplish. So not knowing what you're good at and what you need to work on, it's difficult for me to tell you exactly what to practice. But let's try to get some answers so that you yourself can get a realistic idea of where you are on the guitar and what you need to work on. Okay, so first make a quick list of the things that you know that you're struggling with. Don't put a lot of thought into this. Just jot down the things that you've tried that you're sure you need more work. That's easy. Just put those things down. But the next step we're going to do is we're going to take a video. Just put your phone up and take a video of the next time that you practice. So you'll be able to see and you'll be able to hear how your practice is going. A lot of times when we practice, we're so focused on whatever it is we're working on, the exercise. It's easy to miss some things. So being able to sit back and critique our own playing, that's good. That's priceless, actually. I'm sure if you try it, you will definitely find some things about your playing that you didn't realize, that you missed, some things that could use some work. Finally, if you've got access to someone else, a guitarist that you trust that will give you an honest answer, ask them what they think that you do well on the guitar, but more importantly, what are the things that they think that you need to work on? That sounds scary, but this is really important. That's gold. That's gold information right there. Really narrowing down the fundamentals that are lacking in your playing. That'll help you pinpoint the exact things that you need to work on, the things that are holding you back from playing the way you want to play. This isn't something that you need to feel down about. Everyone, and I mean everyone who plays the guitar, has something they could do better. The fact that you care enough to hear something like this, to go through that, it puts you in a very small group, a very small percentage of players, and it's a very telling sign that you're about to really start moving forward. Okay, so now you have a list of several things that are worth your time to concentrate on. Let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the things that you're going to let go. The things that are limiting you on the guitar. So we're going to use the 80-20 rule, and so far it's helped us find the good stuff. We know the things that make up a good practice, and we've researched what it is that's going to fill in all the cracks to give us a good foundation. But now we're going to cut some fat. We're going to start decluttering and we're gonna really streamline things. So first, let's talk about mindset. Mindset is something I talk about a lot, and I've even had a whole episode dedicated to it a few months ago. Once we lose our confidence or we follow some distracting thoughts, it's very hard to get back on track. When you deal with practice and you're working on things that don't sound so good, it's easy to feel down about yourself, especially when you go on Instagram or YouTube and you see all these people playing this great stuff. They're showing off. But if you notice, not many people are showing the beginning stages of learning something new. They wait till they have everything just perfect before they upload. And that gives you a really distorted impression of reality. To you, it feels like everyone is just doing great. They have everything so together, and you just feel like you're struggling. Here's what you do about that. Ignore it. Just ignore how other players or your friends are doing on the guitar. It has no use to you at all. Even if you just watch because you want an incentive to play better, you still need to be really careful about that. Comparing yourself to others, it's counterproductive, and it's only going to sidetrack you. You are the focus, and being honest with yourself as to what you do well and what you need to work on, that's the key to getting better as fast as possible. Here's another thing I want to mention, and this is common: unfocused practice, or just we'll call it jamming. Just sitting there noodling around on the guitar. I love it. It's fun. It's relaxing. You come up with some great ideas this way, and it's a very important part of playing guitar. But if that is all that you do, you're on a really slow path to move forward. The point of jamming is a whole different mindset. You're using the things that you already know to sound as good as you possibly can. It's just part of the picture, and it's a part that can eat up a lot of time. That's critical time that you could spend working on something else, which could be mastering the things that will give you the most results in the shortest amount of time. Okay, so how are we going to do this? How are we going to get this done? We've made our decision. We got 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week. We've nailed down what we really need to work on. And then we've also put a spotlight on the things that are holding us back. And that's a great start, but let's take some action. Let's plan the next week in advance. You're going to have to make some decisions. First, we're going to pick our format. There's many different ways that you can practice. Lots of different practice schedules. But today, we're limiting our time to 10 minutes, and we're gearing it towards as much repetition as possible. So I'd like for you to think about your practice time as split into two sections. The first part is where we're going to work on skills and techniques that we don't really have down quite yet. We're going to call this the practice section. And the second part is for playing the things that we already know, we already enjoy playing. That we're going to call this the playing section. One's going to sound pretty rough, and the other one's going to sound pretty good. But they're both equally important. Let's take, for an example, say you're great at pentatonic scales. That's awesome. Keep that up. But realize that now that you've got a handle on them, you put those into a different category. They aren't in the practice category anymore. You can play them. Now we're going to move those over to the playing category. Now we have two sections, one on fundamental work and one on the maintenance of what we've already learned, getting better at those things, refining that. So let's map out the week. So each day is going to have 2 5-minute sections. Practice we're going to do first and the playing last. Find the area that you need the most work on and do some research. Look up different exercises or methods that relate to your problem. You could find videos about it. You could buy a method book that looks good to you. Whatever it is, you just need to laser focus on that skill that you know you need to work on. Say if you're struggling for hand-eye coordination or your syncing of your left and right hands, you might find a series of like technique exercises from a book or on the web and choose a different one for each day of the week. Write them down on your calendar. And next to each of the entries, now write down something from your playing list. It could be something you've worked on before or something that was challenging, but you need to keep up. It could be a song, or it could be just some improv over a blues progression, but fill up each day of the week on your calendar and see how it goes for 1 week. Okay? So let's wrap all this up. I want to stress something very important. You've just made a lot of great decisions, and these are decisions that are going to start moving you forward right away. So be proud about that, but don't be too proud. The goal here is really to be disciplined, but you still need to be flexible. At the end of each week, take some time and think back to how your practice went and be objective. Think about what worked and think about what didn't. And think about if you had enough time to move on or if you still need more time to work on the things that you practice. I want you to be bold and expect results, but if you're not getting them, don't be afraid. Call an audible, okay? Do some experimenting. You just need to decide that this is going to happen, but it might take a few adjustments along the way. Okay, so here's what we did today. We realized that repetition is the key for moving forward on guitar, even if we only have a short amount of time to practice. Next, we learned about the Pareto principle, where 20% of the work or the activities are responsible for 80% of the results. Then we set limits on our practice. In this case, we set 10 minutes. Then we learned the areas that are essential to moving forward on the guitar. And we made it a really good effort to find out what are the key things that are missing from our playing. After that, we cut out the negative things that we were wasting our time on. And then we picked the format of our sessions and scheduled them for the first week. And finally, we took a look back at the end of the week and made all the changes necessary to keep us moving forward with the guitar. I hope this look into how I help students make the most of their time with the guitar helped you. I hope it sparked some ideas, how you can get your own practicing really moving forward and very effective. And I've got a challenge. My challenge for you this week, it's an easy one. Put this into practice just for 1 week, just to see how you feel at the end of the week and see if you've got more clarity about your playing. You can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel from these things. And I hope you do. And please let us know about it right here in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. And just for being here, I'd love to give you something. If you've ever found getting a steady practice routine difficult in the past, it could be the way that your practice space is set up. So I've taken all the information from, I did an episode on setting up your perfect practice space, and I boiled it all down to a really easy to understand checklist. And this is going to help you get together your new practice space or just rework your old practice space. And you can make sure you have everything you need to succeed, and you can use it in the most effective way possible. So if you want to get it, just go to playguitarpodcast.com/practice, or even easier, just click the link in the description below. All right. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.